morning, fifth graders. Welcome to our technology class. This is week 12. So I made a change. So a couple of, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I introduced you guys to the project that we're going to be working on, the Technology Innovators Project. So the first part was actually due today, right, on the 4th. So I've decided to give you another week. So I noticed that, let's see, so I've received about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. I've received 5 of them. So yeah, so I don't know. I really don't know what to say. Why aren't you doing it? I have no idea. But so instead of moving forward to the next part, I'm going to extend it one more week in the hopes that everybody will have it done. So that way we can actually move on to the next part. So the first part, what you were doing is you were choosing somebody from the list, right? One of these technology people from the list. And then you were going into the Google Doc and you were typing in the answers to the questions. So you were not turning it into a Google Slides yet. That's going to be the next part of the project. The first part that I'm grading you on is your research. So you need to go to each of the questions and go online and research the answers to them, and then use at least 3 sources. So that means 3 different sources. You can go back to the video from before this week where I went through this in detail, but you should be sharing a Google Doc with me before next Friday with the person that you chose and then your research. And then what I'm going to do is after that, I'm going to make a lesson showing you how to turn it into Google Slides. And then that'll be due after the Christmas break. So let's get you to do the first part, which is selecting the person and then going in and starting the research. This should be done in a Google Doc. Don't send me Google Slides. That's one step ahead. I want you to do the research. I want you to practice researching, right? This is kind of like a rough draft. You go in, you do research online, you start filling in what you're finding about each of the questions, and then you keep building on it, right? As you do more research, maybe you add a few more bullet points in. And after that, when you're done adding enough research, then we're going to turn it into a presentation. So don't just jump right to the presentation before you do the research, okay? So hopefully everybody understands that. I feel like I needed to clarify that because I think there was like 2 people that sent in like a Google Slides thing and they didn't send in the answers to the research questions first. Okay, so don't jump ahead. So you have until next Friday. After that, if you do not submit it, you'll start getting the late points off, okay? And then obviously it'll just follow that whole thing where then you'll eventually just get a 0 on it. So please make sure you get it in by next Friday because then I will be explaining the next part of the project, okay? So please get part 1 done and share your Google Doc with me. It should be a Google Doc, not the slides. Okay, so hopefully everybody understands for the first part what you're doing. Okay, just to quickly talk about the typing. So you do have a new typing lesson this week. It's called Basic Punctuation. Last week you had the 5-minute typing test. So again, if there's a no next to your name, you did not do it. Sarah, Evan, Kayla, Stephen, Brielle, Carolini, and Lucas A. Those are the people who did not do the 5-minute typing test. Please make sure that you do it. Obviously, if you do it, you get 100. If you don't, you get a 0. Basic punctuation is this week's lesson. So please go in and do your typing, okay? Pretty easy, pretty straightforward, right? So you have to finish your Tech Innovators this week if you did not do it. And then you have to do your typing. If you missed last week's typing, you also have to do last week's typing as well, okay? All right, so this week, we're going to do our second step lessons this week. And then actually, I'm gonna tell you guys what's going to be happening. So this week, we're doing second step lessons. Next week, we are celebrating computer science week and we're doing hour of code. The following week after that is a half a day. So I'll just make a short lesson and I will just go over how to create Google Slides. And then you will be working on your Google Slides over the break, right? So that's why you need your research done. So then you can work on the slides over the break. So that's really where we're going in the next 3 weeks or 2 weeks, whatever it is, right? So there's today, the next Friday, following Friday is a half a day. And so that's what we will be doing. So hopefully you'll keep up with this and you can do well this quarter, right? And so I've been receiving some of the missing work from the first quarter from some of the kids who, you know, decided not to do anything and now they all of a sudden are doing it. So it's good that you're sending it in and you're taking this second chance, right? And hopefully you care enough, right? But my best advice would be this is a new quarter, so just keep up with the things every week, right? Don't just let it go where now you're like 10 assignments behind and you're getting 5 points off every week. And it's just like a losing battle and it's going to feel so hard for you to catch up. If you just set aside 1 day a week as your technology day, maybe it's after school, maybe it's in the evening, maybe it's on a weekend, I would say 30 to 40 minutes per week, you can get everything done. And then you won't have to have that feeling where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so far behind. How will I ever catch up? So please keep up with your assignments, okay? All right, so let's move on to the second step lessons. So this week we're talking about accepting differences and disagreeing respectfully with people. So if you remember a couple of weeks ago, we did a career lesson, right? And we talked about the job skills of the future. And some of the job skills that are going to be very important for your future are communication, emotional intelligence, problem solving, empathy. These are going to be skills that you will need for any career that you go into. Learning how to communicate with people. That's a really big deal. We're going to be going over the 3 types of communication styles today, passive, aggressive, and assertive. And you probably remember them from last year. We learn these every year because they help you, right? Especially since technology is your life, right? You guys are growing up with technology. And it's so important to focus on communication skills and people skills because you don't want to lose those or never learn them, right? That would be terrible. I mean, that's one of my goals is to have you guys learn those skills so that way when you go out into the world, you will know how to communicate with people. And you're not just like, oh, the only thing I know how to do is send a text message, right? It's like, that's all I know how to do. I don't know how to talk face to face with people. I don't do that. I don't even know how to have a phone call, right? So we want you guys to have these people skills because you're going to need them for your life, right? They're important. So these are some of our lessons and they have little videos. So I think you guys probably remember them. They're like video stories about the kids, right? In the lesson. So we're going to start with the first part. So not everybody is the same as you. So hopefully you've already realized that. People have differences, right? They don't like the same things that you like. They don't do the same things that you do. And that's normal because not everybody is the same, right? And so we have to learn how to accept differences and know that people aren't always going to like what we like or want to do what we want to do. And what are we going to do? Are we going to make them feel bad? Oh, you don't like that? What's wrong with you? No, you're going to be okay with it, right? And you're going to take time to use empathy and understand why people feel the way they feel, why they like what they like, right? And this is a great skill because there's some adults out there who they don't have this skill. I mean, they get like so offended if somebody doesn't have the same view as them, right? And then they treat people badly. And we don't want to be people like that. We want to be people that are tolerant of differences, accepting, right? We understand that not everybody has the same life as us, right? So part of your assignment this week, which I'll tell you about in a little bit, is you're going to choose somebody to interview. Maybe pick somebody that you don't know so well. And there's a few questions you're going to ask them, and then you're going to see that were their answers the same as what you would answer about it, or were they different, right? And hopefully it'll help you to get an awareness that the people around you are different, right? Their lives are not the same as you. And this is part of empathy and understanding and being able to work with people who are different than you and be okay with it, right? Okay, so let me put on the videos and then we will come back and we'll talk a little bit more about it, okay?
It was Saturday, and my dad and I were going to a game. He needed to stop by the office on the way. I told him I could hang out if he needed to work for a little while. When we got there, the office wasn't empty. Another lady had come to the office and brought her son. A weird coincidence was I knew the kid. His name is Miguel, and he's in my class. I didn't know Miguel's mom worked with my dad. Miguel's really shy. His family just moved here from Mexico at the beginning of the year. His English wasn't too good at first, but it's getting better. Still, he mostly hangs out with other kids who speak Spanish. They kind of stick together and play soccer at recess. I sat down near him, but he barely looked at me. I think he felt kind of uncomfortable. I felt kind of weird too because I'm not really used to having to make new friends. I have a pretty tight group of friends at school, and I guess I don't really think much about other kids.
Okay, so when you guys are watching this and seeing these two kids, so they're in the same class together, right? So like you guys, that they don't even realize that their parents work together, right? And so now the one boy is kind of sitting there and he's starting to come up with an opinion about the other boy, right? If you notice, he's saying, oh, well, you know, he just moved here from Mexico and he doesn't speak English too well. And he seems to just kind of stay with all the kids that are speaking Spanish and he plays with them. And so he's starting to, in his mind, come up with this whole thing about the kid, but he's never really even talked to him and doesn't know anything about him, right? And so I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this word. It's called prejudice, right? And so what this means is it means that we come up with an opinion that's based more on like our own thinking rather than the truth, right? And so it might be like an experience that we had or something we heard. It could be about, you know, certain types of people. It could be about anything, right? We could have a prejudice about anything. It could be about a restaurant, a kind of food, a TV show, a person, right? And this can be really bad because when we start to do this and we come up with these opinions that we make in our mind or through whatever, you know, we hear, and we don't really get to know people or try things, then we can really miss out on good friendships with people that would have made amazing friends. You know, things that we would have never ever tried before because we just had a prejudice about it, right? And so we don't want you guys to do that. Like, we really want you to have an open mind. And you know how they always say, don't judge a book by its cover. Well, don't judge a person by your thoughts about them when you don't really know them, right? Or just by your, you know, observation, and you're just coming up with this whole thing, but you never really talked to them and tried to really understand them, right? So, you know, I think this is where, especially now you guys are going to be getting into middle school, you know, people kind of form these little cliques and groups and things. And why does that happen? Because people just tend to want to go with other people that make them feel like, oh, they're the same as me, right? But then it can make a lot of problems because number one, you're always staying with people that are always like you. How are you ever going to grow or be challenged, right? To try different things, And it's okay, to have people with the similar interests in things, but don't just make that the only kind of friend that you ever make is they have to be just like me. They have to like everything I like, think exactly the way I think, look exactly the way I look, put the same clothes, whatever. How boring is that, right? And that's like break out of that and go and get to know people who are different from you and try to understand why they're different. And maybe you'll like something about them and then you'll want to try it, right? So, I mean, this is something that is really important because I don't want you guys getting older and then you just have all of these thoughts in your mind about, well, oh, those people, they're the ones that like, I don't know, they're only into this kind of thing and oh, I'll never be friends with them, and that's not cool. Like, I mean, especially, I think even adults do this, right? They get scared. Oh, that person's so different. I'll stay away from them, right? And it's like, think about it. As Christians, if that's how we act, how in the world are we ever going to be the light, right? Especially you guys when you get into high school, college, there's going to be people, they're not going to believe like you. And you're just going to go run and hide and stay in your little group with people who are just like you? Are you going to be like, you know what? I'm going to go say hello. I'm going to find out what they're like. I'm going to try to, be the light over here. And that's how you change the world, right? Is by being okay with being friends with people who are different from you. So hopefully it's starting to get in there somehow. All right, so let's watch what happens in the second part of the video.
It got kind of uncomfortable just sitting there, not talking, so I decided to say something. I asked him what he was looking at, and he showed me his comic book. I really like comic books, and this one was really cool. The words were in Spanish, but you could tell what was going on by the pictures. Then I showed Miguel this game I had on my phone. It was kind of a math game. He thought it was pretty cool too. Turns out, he's really good at math, like me. I didn't think Miguel and I would have anything in common, but turns out that we do. My dad and his mom were talking, and we found out that we don't live too far from each other. His mom invited me to come over after school one day next week. I think that'll be fun.
Okay, so you're starting to see that now the one boy he's now kind of saying, you know what, let me go talk to him, let me get to know him. And they're finding out that they actually have things in common, right? And so yes, there's a lot of differences, but there's also a lot of things that they like the same, some of the same things, right? And so this is really what it's all about with making new friends, with building, meaningful friendships with people. It's learning to accept differences and to look for things that we have in common and to be able to build off of that. So hopefully that is starting to speak to you in a way, and it's starting to make sense. So let me go into the next part of the lesson. So now we're talking about how can we disagree with somebody in a respectful way. So again, we're not going to always agree with people, right? It's just not possible. But when we're coming into a disagreement about something, it could be something school related, a hobby, whatever, it could be anything. What do we do? Do we just get aggressive and say, well, you know what? My way's the best and that's it. Like, I'm not even going to listen to your way. Do we become passive where maybe we just kind of shut down and we're like, you know what? Nobody wants to hear what I have to say anyways, so I'll just stay quiet and I won't say anything. Well, that's not good either, right? So remember, passive and aggressive are not really the ideal ways of communicating. We want to be assertive. That means that we're confident in who we are. We realize that we're not the same as everybody. Our opinions are different. Their opinions are different, but we're just okay with it. And we can share our opinions in a calm way. We can listen to other people's opinions also in a calm way. And we can work to some sort of agreement. That's the best way of communicating. So again, there's just two little short videos here, but let's watch how these kids are communicating.
Come on, let's clean this up. It's time to go.
No, we're staying and finishing it.
I'm not staying late. I'm gonna skateboard. My friends will be waiting.
Well, you better forget about that. We have to finish this project now. It is due in 2 days, and I'm not going to get stuck doing it all myself. You never do your part of the work.
You always take over and act like you're the boss of everything.
Well, someone has to be the boss around here.
Fine. The boss himself.
Get back here.
Okay, so if we were going to rate this, right, and say, was it disrespectful, respectful? What do you think? Well, it definitely didn't sound too friendly, right? They're kind of yelling at each other, being a little bit rude, mean, right? Aggressive, right? They're communicating aggressively. Definitely not coming to any sort of agreement. And this is where working in groups, I think group work is a good lesson for kids in school, because when you get older and you're in your workplace and you have to maybe be on a team with other people, you need to learn how to work peacefully with people when it's your job, right? Especially maybe you just don't like working with them for whatever reason, but you still have to learn how to do it, right? And that's a hard thing, being in a group with somebody else, especially if maybe they don't work the same way that you do, you know? And so you have to be careful the way that you communicate, that you're not acting aggressively, right? So I'll put the second part on just to kind of, and then we'll just finish talking about this topic, okay?
Come on, Sierra. Let's clean up. It's time to go.
Let's just stay and finish it.
Sierra, I really don't want to stay late. I want to leave so I can go skateboard.
I think we should stay and finish it. It's due in 2 more days, and we won't have enough time to finish it in class tomorrow.
I disagree. I think we have plenty of time. Besides, I've been looking forward to skateboarding all day.
I understand you'd be disappointed if you didn't get to ride your skateboard. I just think our project is more important than that.
I know our project is important. We can work on it in class tomorrow. And we can write a list of things we still need to do.
Okay, so what did you see as the difference here between the way these kids were disagreeing versus the other two? And hopefully you could see that they were being assertive, right? They were being very polite, respectful, sharing what, why do I feel this way? Oh, okay, why do you feel this way? And they were trying to understand each other. And they were talking in a peaceful tone of voice, right? They weren't like yelling and being rude. And so hopefully you guys, if you are very aggressive and maybe the words that come out of your mouth are rude, then maybe this is a good day for you to check yourself and say, gosh, I need to stop acting like this. I need to become more assertive. Or if you're the person who just kind of shuts down and you don't even say anything because you just feel like nobody cares what you have to say and you're very passive, then again, maybe today's your day to change. And you need to start thinking, how can I be more assertive, right? So I have a little activity that you guys are going to work on. So this is in Google Docs. So I will send it to you guys and you can type it up in here. So I'll tell you what you're going to do. So the first thing you're going to do is define prejudice. So we just talked about that. Then you're going to choose a friend to interview and you're going to complete the chart below. So you can type inside of the boxes your friend's answer and then was it same or different from what you would have, how you would have answered. It says, why do you think it's important for people to accept differences and find similarities with others? So I want you to share a little bit about your thoughts. So, normally we're together in person and we can have an open discussion, which is so challenging right now because I make these videos and we can't have a discussion. So the way that we can share our thoughts is through typing into these Google Docs your thoughts. So, think about if we were having a discussion on this, what would be your thoughts about this? The other question I have for you guys, what's your style of communication do you mostly use? Like, do you think about yourself now? Are you mostly assertive, aggressive, or passive? Somewhere in the middle. Share a little bit about that. I want you guys to get an awareness of yourself so that way, and This also goes for your online life, right? This is technology. How do you talk? How do you communicate when you're on a chat in a game or something with somebody? Are you in all caps, like yelling, or do you put people down? Are you very aggressive? Like, how are you when you're communicating? Because it matters, right? It matters how you communicate in person, and it also matters how you communicate when you're typing, right? So it really does matter. So you have to stop and think about this. And, you know, if you're in a place where you're not where you really want to be, then make a change now, right? You're old enough to be able to, you know, challenge yourself now, right? I mean, you're starting to get older, and it really does matter, you know, how you are. This is part of your character, you as a person. And then the last question says, share a time when you disagreed with someone. Were you respectful or disrespectful? And so give us a real story. What happened? Could have been something this year, last year, at home, at school. Think about it. And then name 3 ways to be respectful and still disagree with someone. So give us 3 things that you could do now. So again, this would be challenging yourself, right? Because it's not easy. I know everybody they want to get your way. You want everybody to think you're right. But sometimes you just have to let it go and be okay with saying that, yeah, all right, you have your opinion, I have mine, and I respect that. And that's a big deal. Let me tell you, there's adults out there, they do not do this. They always have to be right. And everybody has to agree with that. And maybe you even know somebody like that. But we don't want to be like that. We want to challenge ourselves to be different. We really want to be the light. We really want people to look at us and say, wow, you know, whenever that person doesn't agree with me, they don't make me feel bad. They actually still make me feel pretty good, like they understand me. I don't know, just a thought, right? Hey, why shouldn't we be different? We should be, because we are Christians and we are set aside because God says that we are different from the world, and we should embrace that and want to be, you know, amazing, because we want to show the love of God to other people and challenge ourselves to live out of our flesh, saying that I don't want to listen to what my mind is always telling me, oh, you want to be right. I want to listen to what the Holy Spirit says, that, yeah, you know, you want to accept other people and make them feel that you understand them, right? So you're going to get this Google Doc, type your answers in there, share it with me, do your typing, finish your Tech Innovators, send it to me, and be all caught up with everything next week. Because after next week, I'm going to be taking off the late points, and there will be no second chances. So that'll be it. Whatever the grade that goes on the report card will be the grade that goes on there. Okay. I have a heart for you guys, but I also understand that we have to hold you accountable, and it can be painful. I don't want to watch you fail. I don't like seeing that. But at the same time, I know that you all make your own choices. So you just have to deal with the choices that you make, right? And sometimes they're not so good, but hopefully you'll learn from them and you get better. All right, so I'll see you guys next time, okay? Bye, guys.